Hi! So I think I accidentally deleted the intro video off of this page. So we don't have an intro video today.
Should we try to recreate it? You got some costumes over there.
Yeah, and my phone's ringing. Wow, we're off to a great start, you guys. We're excited tonight to talk about a show we did a little less than 2 years ago. This one was at Spring Mountain Ranch State Park for Super Summer Theater. So it was a different venue. If you haven't been to Super Summer, it's a super awesome, fun place to go. It's an outdoor theater, but instead of seats, you bring your blanket, or they have like lawn chairs you can sit on. It's great for kids. You can go to the stars. Come early.
Get drunk.
Not us, no, but some people do.
A lot of people do.
They do. It's a great venue. We have worked out there starting out as performers for over 20 years, and Steve started directing out there about 12 years ago, 2008. And so we're out there from time to time, and it's a lot of fun. And so this was a production. Now this is, if you didn't know, this was a production of Peter Pan that isn't very commonly done in the US, and it's not super well known. It's actually called Peter Pan, A Musical Adventure, and it was a fun and interesting challenge to bring a new version of Peter Pan to life. Plus, there's a lot of limitations at the ranch. There's the set is I'm sorry, I got a text and now I'm distracted. The set is, can you guys let us know, are you guys having problems with the video? Anybody's watching, if you're having a lot of problems with the video, I got a text that there was problems, but I don't know what to do about it if there are. So.
I'm just getting error loading on Facebook.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's there. It's just not very clear.
Okay. All right.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. Hold on, just a second. Maybe. Oh, it's connected. Everything's connected, so it might just be.
Is what it is.
Yeah, it just might be what it is. So, all right. So back to Peter Pan. At the ranch, there's some technical challenges. Flying is always a challenge out there because the theater itself does not have a very high ceiling, so whenever we want to fly people out there, we bring it way down in front of the audience. So like for Tarzan, we did some flying, and we had scaffolding set up, and he was way down there, and we didn't want to be quite so obvious for Peter Pan, so we did a more subtle scaffolding situation.
Tried to hide it a little bit more.
We're still able to bring some flying way down. You'll see that some of the flying was, some of it was,
yeah, it's very, very pixelated.
Yeah. Can you hear us okay, though?
Is the sound coming in?
I'm gonna do one more thing here really quick.
Bear with us just a minute while we fix things up here.
Hi, we're back. All right, I'm gonna go do one thing really quick, and Steve's gonna talk for another second, and then we'll start with the video. And
back on?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
We're back on. Sorry.
And it's a lot better now.
Oh, good. I'm still gonna run downstairs and check that one thing really quick because we want to have a good video, and so Steve will talk a little bit more about Peter Pan.
Alrighty. Well, Peter Pan we ended up doing this version of Peter Pan because we knew it was something that Super Summer Theater wanted to do. They wanted to have Peter Pan in their season. But at the time, I think the year before, see, when you bid at the ranch, you're actually bidding a year and a half in advance of when the show will actually go up. So at the time, there was a production of Peter Pan that was going on at the college, UNLV. So that was the original Broadway production of Peter Pan with the Mary Martin version and all that good stuff. So we knew we didn't want to do that one because it was going to be a year and a half later when we would actually do ours. So we looked into some options of other versions that were out there, just to kind of see what else was out there. And there's a show, this version of Peter Pan Musical Adventure was something that I had looked into years and years ago, and it wasn't licensable in the US at the time. And so while I was looking at different productions and different scripts and stuff, that one came up and it was available, and I was like, well, let's give it a listen. And it's written by Stiles and Drew, who are the composers who wrote the additional music to Mary Poppins the musical. So there's some good songs in there. There's some rough ones, but overall it was different, and it was going to be something different that we could sink our teeth into, offer to the audience out at Super Summer Theater, and it was something different for us, and that's what kind of turned us on to it.
And for me, it was nice because this one I changed things up a little bit, and I did not build the costumes. I did a few, but just a handful. Linda Googler did the vast majority of them, and I was the musical director, which, in hindsight, picking a show that nobody was very familiar with and had some really weird chord structures and keys and writing may not have been the best choice for someone who's not necessarily a trained musician. It was the best call for my first time as a vocal director, but it was a fun challenge and everybody went along with it. And
it was difficult. It was difficult music.
It was weirdly written too.
And
it was like,
I think the materials and stuff that we got weren't exactly.
Well, usually they write even the men's parts in the tenor in the treble clef, and it was all in the bass clef, which just didn't register. It would have been fine for like a real musician, but I'm a faker. So I know how to read music and play songs, and I know how to tell people to sing, but it was a little rough, but I had a really good time. Okay, so I think our technical difficulties are figured out. We are going to give you some clips from the show, just in case if you haven't seen it, or just as a refresher if you have. So here we go. Here we go. Oh my gosh. Just reminded me that the comments there that like I said, Steve and I have been doing shows out there for 21 years. Mm-hmm. And in our 21 years, for all the shows that we performed in, directed, costumed, whatever we were doing out there, we've never had a show canceled, which is crazy because it's an outdoor theater and it does rain in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Until Peter Pan.
Until Peter Pan. That was our first one. We had winds that were so bad.
We were going to have to cancel the flying because the wind was too bad. So we gave the actors the cue that the flying for the next portion was cut.
But then the wind it kicked up so bad that it was blowing over set pieces, and for the safety of the audience,
there was a storm.
They evacuated. A bad storm was moving in.
Potentially.
And so
it never really hit
evacuated
the ranch. Don't tell nobody.
The ranch. They evacuated
and
the whole thing.
They told me to make the announcement, but I had just been running back and forth. So I got on the speaker and I inadvertently made it sound very scary. So yeah. Anyway, good times. Enough about Kathy. Oh, red. All right. Let's bring on our first guest. We I don't know what it is, but we do villains right.
Yeah, we get.
I gotta give us that.
Yeah.
Because
we got lucky with Little Mermaid.
We
did. Got lucky with Beauty and the Beast, and we got lucky with Peter Pan.
Yeah. So I was just before the show discussing this with Tim, who we're gonna meet in a minute. That he was kind of a scary Captain Hook. I mean, he was still funny and silly sometimes, but you still empathize with him. But he was kind of scary.
He was deliciously gross.
So let's, before we bring him on, let's take a little peek at our good old Captain Hook here.
A creature, it would have gobbled down the whole of me if it hadn't been for some lucky chance. It swallowed an alarm clock that goes tick, tick, tick on its innards, warning of its approach. Blood will spill when I
Crowd like screaming after that.
It was a crowd pleaser. Everyone loved Captain Hook.
They sure did. So let's welcome Tim Burris. He has Timothy. Maybe I should have put Timothy. Tim Burris as Captain Hook. Let's welcome Tim. Hi, Tim.
Oh, hello. Hi. It's fine to call me Tim. I don't put on airs like that. We're good. Man,
how are you, man?
That's the first time I've seen some of that stuff.
I know, right? I was just telling Sandra that when we play the clips and stuff, I love watching because you guys are in the green room down below the screen that nobody else can see, but we can see your guys' reactions and everything, so it's really kind of cool.
Yeah. I was like, whoa! People had told me about the light change and all of that during that crescendo. I'm just up there emoting.
It's funny because we as actors, when we're on stage, sometimes because we're a part of the production and we're on stage, we are what people are looking at. We don't get to see the magic of the technical elements that are helping to create your moment, your character.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot of times when we go back and look at videos, we go, like, I had no idea that was happening.
That was happening.
I felt cool, but I had no idea I looked so cool.
I remember that was one of my favorite parts in like Beauty and the Beast. Was there was a point where during Be Our Guest I got to do like a pivot and turn around and take in everything and see the lights that we put in the set, and I always have this like moment of being the audience for a second, but totally. So Tim, you and Steve have known each other for quite some time, haven't you?
Yeah.
We go back.
Yeah, we go back, and in fact we met way back in a production of Peter Pan.
Yeah, we did.
We were both teenagers then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually talked about that 2 weeks ago when we had Shrek, because we had Taylor Campbell who played Michael.
Little Michael.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had him on, and so yeah, we were talking about that, and then I think I met you around Aida, which was 2008.
That is when,
we worked on our set for Aida.
Yeah.
It was our first show with Steve as a director out at the ranch, and so our paths have crossed here and there.
Yes.
From there on out. So it's always that's kind of one of the really fun things about community theater. It seems like you always come back. Like there's always that moment when you get to work with somebody again, or your paths just cross. It's like it may be 20-something many years later, but it's super fun. So we were.
Oh yeah. I always wanted to come back to Peter Pan. When I was 19, I would have loved to play Hook, but I was 19.
Right.
And I remember
we just have to wait. We have to wait until we mature into the role so that we can give it our best. Yeah.
Like a fine, tasty wine. But I was working on my Jeep actually, and I saw somebody else mention that they heard that Steve was and the Huntsman Entertainment in general was aiming to do Peter Pan. And I had texted Steve, I was like, I heard you doing Peter Pan, is this true? And he texted me back and he said, this is true. And I was just like, I want in.
I wanted to say, please come and audition, but I didn't want to seem desperate.
Well, it's hard.
You played a great poker face.
Sometimes when you say that, people, and then they come in and somebody else ends up getting the role, people don't like that.
Oh, no.
So we have to be really chill.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Like, directing on occasion on myself, I get that vibe. But I remember going in to the audition, and the fella who was auditioning alongside of me also for the part, I'm not naming folks right now, but he and I just hung out the whole time, having a blast, enjoying what each other brought to the table.
Yeah.
And we chuckled a lot and just were marveling at each other's choices. It was great, and I had a blast at the audition.
Well, you guys were like night and day different. Like, you just both brought something complete. You were both brilliant and amazing performers.
He was an amazing singer. Yeah. The thing is, and what was cool about that is he had what you didn't have, and you had what he didn't have. And if I could have just put both of you together, I would. And in the moment, I thought that I would have been able to get exactly what I wanted. But you ended up. Brilliant.
It gave us a fun choice. It gave us a fun choice. It gave us something to really consider, because it was just really, who do we want Captain Hook to be? And had it gone the other way, it still would have been brilliant.
And I think you're like me, Tim. I don't consider myself the best singer in the world. There's so many people who are going to come into an audition who are way better than I am. But I feel like I can take people when it comes to acting.
I definitely. I always tell my students, I'm not a singer, but I act like I can sing.
Exactly.
Well, and I think that's where we found a real sweet spot, because you can sing, and
thank you.
You were, but we just pick and chose those places where it really worked for you.
Yeah.
And when it wasn't working, we figured something else out, and you did a lot of acting, speaking, talk singing, and it.
Oh yeah. I thought it worked so well, because it really brought out vulnerability in you, and you had to rely on other things rather than that musical moment.
You just brought up something very important, that was the vulnerability of Hook, because that was actually at the behest of your direction, when you brought up to me that he is tired, he is a broken man, and all of these things, and it let me really take it somewhere different. And that only fueled the hatred for Pan. So.
Yeah, well, and when you think about it, I mean, this story of Peter Pan, however you choose to present it, which I feel like we did choose to present it in a somewhat unique way. It's kind of a weird, it's a weird story. I mean, there's this man, middle-aged old man, who is obsessed and hate-filled for this young boy, or whatever it is that you want that to be. There's something deliciously wrong with that, and I think that if you can play on that and have fun with that idea, there's a lot of just fun things that you can create with that character, because that lends to so much that you can do and play around with.
Yeah, you set me free as an actor, actually, at auditions, with a comment just like that, where you said, just before we got started with our readings, you said, now he hates this child, like he hates him. It's unhealthy. and I was like, okay. And that's when you also talked. You made the mention vocally that I went, oh, I got to play around. It's getting this, like, pardon the pun, but this ocean to swim in about it, where you said that you really wanted him to sound and move like an old ship creaking, and it was lovely to work with, and it was so fun, like, just as an actor, to be given such a palette to work with, even at the audition. Like, I was just having a great time, and I had auditioned actually. I remember reading with Andrew later, Smee, and he and I were feeding off each other so powerfully and stuff, and a lot of that. And it was so great. And thank
That's
you.
the nice thing about directing you, Tim, is because I felt like I could just throw out a thought that perhaps I was having as an observer of the story. And you would just sort of kind of like soak it up like a sponge. You wouldn't always necessarily understand or even sometimes maybe even agree with it. But I felt like you just kind of soaked it up and go, ooh, that's something fun to think about. Let me think about that and let me play around with that. And then you just played around with it and eventually sometimes right away we found exactly what that moment needed or what the character needed, and that was just fun.
Yeah, you took things. Often you would provide me some curveballs, or you would just drop things right there that I was like, oh, what gift? And as an actor, I think that it's sometimes we as actors can come in with preconceived notions too much.
Absolutely.
And then we try to guide things with that. Fortunately, I would love to say that I do that all the time, but I don't know. But I do know with this project, something kept being said so much that it drove me so far away from following any preconceived notion. And that was that everybody, when people found out I was cast, so many people would be like, haha, brush up on your best Dustin Hoffman. I hate Dustin Hoffman because of this now. And I was like, no.
Well, nobody wants to. You should never put a character like Hook in a box, because I feel like there's so many different ways that you can play him. I think he has so many different levels and so many nuances that you can play with, and to make the character a tribute to what it's supposed to be, how it's written in the stories, but give it a fresh take, and especially when we try to do something a little bit different in our production, we tried to incorporate a few different ideas. There's something fun about just casting away everything that you've seen and heard of the character before, and just approach it in a whole different way.
Yeah, it was truly lovely. I felt like our Captain Hook that came from our efforts, all of us together, was like if Captain Hook was part of the Black Sails series, like just this visceral like pirate. And I've never seen him be the pirate enough. And I felt like I knew that was something that I would like, and the more and more and I honestly feel like I in my own head I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna be a piratey Hook. And then when I brought my piratey Hook, you were like, you go a little weak, Tim, you want to go more? And then I was like, oh, we get to go that far. And then so that scary Hook that like Sandra mentioned and like other people really was this constant push behind, and that I felt the whole production kept driving him into just this foe, this villain. He was.
And I felt like this script and this music helped us definitely do that more than I think any other.
Well, yeah, because Steve's first show, second show technically that he directed was Peter Pan, the Mary Martin version. I think we talked about that earlier. Yeah. And he did try to take it a little bit. I tried to go a little darker with that, but the material it just wouldn't support it.
Critfield and I helped on the fights with that.
Yes.
I remember that one.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's nice to be able to dive into something a little bit darker, because at the root of Peter Pan, it is a very dark, twisted tale, and you really don't really know. Just like me and Tim, we're perfect for this.
I know you guys have been you're going on. I'm like, okay, boys, we have.
Sorry, we probably should move on. But anyway, I just felt like it was just I felt like there was a really cool marriage between actor and director for this specific character. More you than me. You brought in what I initially saw Hook being. Or what he could be, and that I haven't necessarily seen before, and you just ran with it. So that was really nice for it.
I had a blast with it. It was lovely.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I definitely know we all enjoyed working with you, and this was such a great cast all around. And it had the best vibe. Just the cast vibe was insane. everybody was rehearsal all the time and was there for each other. And
Yeah.
Steve would have to like make up things for people to do at like work calls because everybody would show up and want to help.
That was the
stuff.
coolest thing, is that we had you and Sean came in, and you were instrumental, but Sean came in and did a lot of the fight.
He did all
choreo.
of that, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was so nice to be able. Everyone wanted to be involved. Everyone wanted to learn about stage fighting, stage
Which
combat.
was good because at the end of the show, pretty much everybody was fighting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but it was really nice to be able to utilize that and have everybody. Because some people are afraid to do that kind of stuff because they don't think they'll be good at it, or it is very physical and it can be dangerous, and some people kind of shy away from it. But everyone, probably because we have a lot of kids in the cast, they're like, rah!
Let's do it.
Heck,
Yeah.
even down to like when we were setting up the flag rig and getting all those people, like a bunch of us, we were all out there in the middle of the daytime. Everybody's in like shorts and like tank tops. Like it was most of the cast.
And paint
people
calls
don't
and everything.
Yeah.
It
I
was
just have to give a
crazy.
shout out to Jen King. I see her name on the chat there. One of my
Yeah,
pirate crew.
And
Jen.
that was the fun thing too, is that like everybody all got along, but then y'all had your like little cliques, kind of. They were friendly cliques, but there was like the pirates, and they even had their own like group chat, and then there were the Lost Boys, and they.
And I think that was really cool. I know that that kind of happens, but I felt like for this particular show, because the characters are about tribes.
Yeah.
And I felt like the Lost Boys really got together and they were mischievous, which isn't always good, but for this particular production, I felt it really just flavored how they played. And that was great. And the pirates were the same way, and the
natives.
And the natives, and then
they called themselves the natives because it was a bunch of mostly like teenage
and then the
girls
Darlings,
like,
the family, they kind of, I thought that...
Which you were also Mr. Darling.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which was a fun juxtaposition to see you as a stuffy, uptight, stressed out businessman.
It was lovely. I loved doing that one too. And and the camaraderie expanded, like, because obviously it's like Cynthia Vodovos, who we go way back with, to the first pan that we did too.
She was Mrs. Darling, and she was fantastic.
And then every day I'd be warming up with Kate, and she and I would be trying to get that first harmony that was just killing me, and she helped me through that at the entrance, at the opening song, and like the bonding of the cast, like the camaraderie was outstanding.
And that is so important in a show like Peter Pan, because it's all about storytelling, it's all about relationships, and it should go so much deeper than I think you usually, when you ever see a production of Peter Pan, it's usually a lot of, Hook is very foppish and caricature-y, and the kids are caricature-y, and I think that there's a lot of underlying material that don't ever get to see.
I like the menace that you applied to the Lost Boys.
Yeah.
That the Lost Boys were they were a little thuggish on occasion.
And
like they were ready to throw down.
Yeah.
And I loved that vibe too. I thought that was great.
We had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun working on the show.
All right, boys.
Sorry.
You are having too much fun, and we have a lot of other things to talk about, but stick around, Tim, because I think I'd love to have you and Peter Pan back together, because I'd love to talk about the fight scenes, because they were pretty intense and very cool and whatnot. So hang around. We're gonna actually talk to our Tinkerbell next. But,
some other time, not today, but remind me to tell you about the time that he infiltrated our Facebook chat group, and I lost my mind. Why is Pan in the chat group?
That's very Pan. Very Pan of him.
Right. All right, Tim, thanks so much. We'll see you in a minute.
I will see you guys soon.
All right. That was great. That was intense. You guys were really...
You get an actor and a director together. And I love Captain Hook.
You love Peter Pan.
Someday I will play Captain Hook.
I would love to direct you.
That will be my return to the stage. I'll be Captain Hook.
So as Steve mentioned, talking to Tim, we actually did try to change some things up with this production. For one example is that we never technically left the nursery. That was a technical kind of need, because there's no place to stash nursery windows that Peter Pan could
It's one of the technical difficulties about the ranch is you are literally in a big box, and with not much room outside that box. They have, over the years, created ways to add to that box, but you got to get really creative out there because you don't have a whole lot of space. You can't fly in one whole set and bring in another. So you got to get creative.
Even as limiting as Henderson is, Super Summer is way more limiting.
But it was really nice because that being stuck inside that box kind of forced creativity from the creative team. We had to figure out, is there a way that we can do this show without actually leaving the nursery? Does it happen within the children's minds? Is it a dream? Is it something that is more abstract than that? And I think it helped.
It was fun. It made it interesting and cool, and it really
interesting and cool. Yeah.
I felt like it really pushed you to come up with really creative things. So in some of the other videos you'll see, like the Mariner's Rock is a bunch of furniture piled up on top of each other, and then it also turns into the underground where the Lost Boys live, and there's a bathtub on stage, and just things that would exist in a home create every set piece. If you notice, there's lots of trees, and they're literally some of them are books stacked. They're just made out
end
of
tables and books
things.
And picture frames and stuff
and it made a
together
really
to
cool
create
picture.
Something else.
It was, and the bedroom wall was there the whole time, and we the curtains would come out for the sails of the ship, just things like that.
Yeah.
And then another challenge that we came across was the challenge of Tinkerbell. Usually Tinkerbell is like a laser light on stage and there's music, but we wanted to cast an actor in the role.
Well, it started out with, what we didn't want to do just a little light that was going to be flickering around the room. We wanted to do something, and the script I felt like the script lent itself to be able to do something like that. So I was actually quite stumped, and it was your idea.
It was my idea.
Yeah, we were like, what can we do?
Sitting in this room chatting, and I said, well, what if we had a deaf actress? What if Tinkerbell was deaf, is what I said. And
I think I went.
Because, other people wouldn't necessarily understand her, but Peter Pan
She would have a language with Peter Pan, which would explain the musical connotation, because Tinkerbell still had a musical sort of kind of soundtrack that she came with.
There was tons of music for Tinkerbell that kind of narrated her journey, which would have worked fine if we had a laser pointer on stage or whatever. But so we contacted our friend Dawn Carroll, and she does a lot of the interpreting for Super Summer Theater, and she's an interpreter, and we said we would love to find, if we're going to make this choice, we should find an actress who is also deaf or hard of hearing. And so she put out to some contacts, and we had some auditions, and we found a wonderful young actress. This was her first role, but she dove in head first, gave it 110%, and we had the best Tinkerbell ever, I think.
It was really cool.
And she was fantastic. So I put together a few little clips of her as Tinkerbell, and kind of how we then, sign language was incorporated into the show.
That's a fairy. She's called Tinkerbell. Go on like that. It's close enough. Far away. Hi, Tink. Good to see you. Right, tell us.
She says that Peter wants to Winnie, but shot dead.
I wonder why.
If that's what Peter wants, Curly, we don't ask why.
We'll carry out Peter's orders without question. No.
So as you can see, Tinkerbell obviously is sign language, but then we had many other cast members communicate with her as well. So it was it was a really cool level to add to the show, and it's always fun when we can include a wider range of actors in our performances, and we love to be able to do that. And so with no further ado, let's welcome the beautiful Miss Vanessa Lopez, as she's Tinkerbell, not Wendy Darling.
You screwed up on that one.
I guess I forgot to edit. Hi,
Hey, Vanessa.
So Vanessa, you have some hearing, which was important because then you were able to hear musical cues, so you could sign in time with the music. But tell us a little bit about your experience as Tinkerbell.
Hold on, can you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. can you just tell us about your experience as Tinkerbell?
Oh yes. My experience with Tinkerbell, at first I was nervous because I didn't know how Peter was to interact with that person. So when I first came into audition, I was nervous, but I was doing my cue as a character. But as soon as I figured out I was in, when I was in, I think about I was nervous because I'm sorry, I'm jumping a little bit. um, I just first time I came into rehearsal, I felt like I was part of the family. I didn't feel any different, even though I was just that person. Everybody took the time to repeat themselves, like had the time to take time with me. Today when we first had the have an opening night, I knew this thing was my thing now. Like I didn't have no struggle at all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it did feel like that. You just came in and were a part of the cast, and there were other people in the show who didn't have experience doing theater as well, and you guys just all learned, and you worked so hard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you and Dawn, and it was also very fortunate that Joel, our Peter Pan, he had experience with sign language, so he was able to help you out, and your communication as Peter and Tink was a little more organic because he already brought that with him, right?
Well, that was what was nice, is we didn't have to teach Peter Pan sign language in order for him to communicate with Vanessa, and so him already knowing that, there was already a way that he could communicate with her, and he was able to start that bond with you, which I felt like between Tinkerbell and Peter Pan, that bond that they have is unique, and it's very special and very important, and that was what was really nice about having Joel know sign language a little bit. Yeah,
actually helped a lot.
Yeah, sometimes if Dawn couldn't be there, he could help out, because that was one thing, and it's loud in the rehearsal room, so sometimes you had a hard time if there wasn't somebody signing for you. So it was pretty great. And again, you were fantastic, and you just moved around the stage. You just, I don't know.
You know what was great about Vanessa was that she was a sponge. She was a sponge that was just ready to learn. She knew that she didn't have very much experience, although I thought that she was great when she came in. She had a wide-eyed willingness to learn and to play, and it was difficult for you to figure out and navigate how you were going to be able to involve yourself and put yourself forward. But directing you, I felt like anytime I gave you any specific instruction or direction that we needed, you just sort of kind of ate it up, which was great.
No, thank you.
Did you end up having just a great time doing the show? Was it fun for you?
Yes, that was really fun. That was my first theater experience, and that's when I fell in love with it. Yeah, because before I was just 3 years of color guard where I did mostly dances with my body, but now seeing everyone on stage actually showing my style, like showing my posture, it was like really fun.
Yeah.
Well, it was super awesome. It was great, and it was great to get to know you and your family, which turns out your dad used to work with my sister, who was working on the show like long time ago. And again, it's that small world. It all comes about, and here you were, and it was super fun to work with you. So awesome. Well, hopefully we'll get the chance again. And how are you doing with all of the quarantining stuff? Has it been kind of a nightmare for you? Or are you doing all right?
I'm doing all right.
That's good. That's all we can hope for. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, Vanessa. Stick around, because I would maybe love to have Joel talk to you as well. So we're gonna get to our Peter Pan here, because he made it back from. People are working now, so we're not as available.
People got jobs.
We're gonna talk to the star of the show. I want to say hi, Chrissy Wright. She just commented hi. We used to work with Chrissy Wright back in the day, so it's awesome to have you. All right, Vanessa, we'll see you back in a minute.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Okay.
I do that too fast. I didn't let her finish. I'm sorry, Vanessa. Quick with my finger. All right, so yeah, that was such a. It ended up being a really.
It was
great
it was
part
an
of the show.
excellent opportunity for us to involve, and we try to do this. We've done it before. We try to involve people who wouldn't normally be offered these kinds of experiences in a great number. You know, like for Peter Pan, Little Mermaid, we worked with an autistic gentleman, and he came in and he did certain things, but it was these sometimes these people don't get these kinds of opportunities, and so it's nice for us to be able to give an opportunity like that to somebody who wouldn't necessarily be offered it.
Well, I don't think we're good. I mean, they definitely came in and.
Oh no, they earned their roles. They came in auditioned just like everybody else, but there's not a lot of those roles out there.
Yeah.
For people like that, so it's harder. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to our friend. We actually talked about you a lot last week, Joel, because you were going to be in Little Mermaid with us, and you ended up needing to leave the show. We understand, but we just thought it was funny because now you're engaged to Ariel, so could have been sooner, but whatever. It's all good.
A bird may love a fish, but where will they make their home?
Everything happens for a reason. So Joel's an old friend of ours, and he's auditioned for us lots, and we haven't always cast him, but he's always come back, and whenever we have, it's always been because it's right and perfect, and he was just the perfect Peter Pan for this production. And let's see a little bit more about Joel.
You must think of something wonderful, a sight, a smell, a sound, a shake or two of fairy dust, and you'll be skyward bound. There is just one rule when flying, which is not too hard to understand. Whatever you do, never land.
All right. That was from the big flying number, Neverland.
Just before they took flight.
And, gosh, we had talented kids in the show, too. We always work with, I think we're going to do a whole show with talented kids, because we always have these young kids in the show who are just incredibly talented. So we saw a couple of them there. All right, let's welcome, come on. There we go, Joel Root.
There he
as
is.
Peter Pan. Hello, Joel. Welcome. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Life is good.
Where were you working today?
I was working at in an undisclosed location, preparing COVID-19 testing strips and whatnot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just know you have a couple. Are you rowing yet? Are you back at
I'm not back rowing. I'm
That's
doing
right,
my best to
you're
avoid that because there's not very much protection between gondoliers and the public who come
Right.
from
Gotcha.
far
So
different places than ours.
better to pack those supplies than
Yeah.
So, awesome. Well, Joel, you kind of are Peter Pan. I mean, let's get real. You're kind of like the boy who never grew up. I mean, you are a mature adult person, but you have such a childlike curiosity and energy, and it was just what the show needed. So, thanks, man.
No, easy.
Steve can talk like all the detailed blardy director actor stuff, but I'll just say.
Well, I will start with when we decided that we were going to do Peter Pan. We always
toss
we
around
always
names
have to
of
toss
people.
around ideas like, is this show castable? Are we going to be able to find the people who
My water just like squirted everywhere.
Are we going to be able to find the people who are going to be able to fill these roles? And that's something that we always have to think about as the director and producers of the shows that we put up, because if we can't cast it, we're up the creek. We're up the creek. So I was almost but your name was definitely one that was tossed around from the get-go, and we were thrilled when you said you were actually going to go on audition. So.
And you had some tough competition.
Mm-hmm.
There were some really great people.
There's some spectacular people there.
We had a really good turnout for these auditions.
Yeah, it was a good turnout.
But at the end of the day, it's what fit, and it was right. And I mean, did you have any fun?
No, not at all. I hated it so much.
Talk to us about what is it about Peter Pan? I know that this was a show that you've wanted to do for a while. What is it about Peter Pan that appeals to you?
It's been my favorite story since I was little, and then that's changed. Like the reason for that has changed a dozen times, but just the spirit of adventure and play have always been, like you said, they've been part of my spirit forever. I've felt a very kindred spirit with Peter Pan for different reasons. I don't know, how would I say it? I liked to... I just lost track of the question completely. I like Peter Pan because, like, when I was little, he could fly and he could go on adventures and he could do all of these things. He could fight, he could climb trees, and those were the things that I identified with, like, joy and any sort of goodness in life. And then as I got older, I started to realize, like, that Peter Pan's kind of a terrifying existence. And then thinking about that is something that has made it even more of a favorite for me. Thinking of how not to be Peter Pan in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
How being Peter Pan. Yeah.
He's a little self-centered.
Yeah.
And a little,
He's complicated. He's a very complicated character. And I think that something that we discovered that we wanted to do is we didn't want to force. We didn't want to necessarily say that you were this grown adult man playing a child.
Right.
It was something that was more in your head. We didn't necessarily say how old you were. We didn't say that you had any mental problems or anything like that. But a lot of things were probably definitely implied about why it is that you had this youthful spirit about you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I don't know what else to say. Joel, I think, and I know we've discussed this before, like I said earlier, this cast just had a really great vibe. I felt like every person felt included, felt a part of the social, because every production definitely has the work side, the staging, the choreo, the singing, the costumes, everything. It has the technical side, but there's a social element to it.
Right.
And there should be. There has to be.
Well, that's what's
why
the
do we
fun
do
part
this,
of it is I mean, that's part of the fun is, the friends you make, and that's why we're doing this, because we're getting to talk to our friends.
And we as theater people are a tribe. We're like-minded people who get together and do weird things like dress up and play make-believe.
But without us asking or any prompting, you would just take it upon yourself as the leader of the Lost Boys. It include all of the tribes to do fun theater games and just fun, like, interactive things before rehearsal started, or like if there was a break or a moment.
Like, what are some things that you did with the Lost Boys? Because I know you did a lot of things.
A lot of people know Ninja, the game, the like hand hitting game. So we would try and get to points in like around the stage or around the set that you couldn't see, and we would see how much of a game of Ninja we could play without you guys noticing. So like I don't know, I was watching I was not watching, I was listening in the car. Laura was watching, so she would be mad at me if I said I was looking at something. But so, what was I saying? Oh, you talked about the tribalism, right? That like the Pirates had their group and the Lost Boys had their group, and like playing games that built up that rivalry, but like in a playful way. It just reminding everyone that it's that each element is play. Each element is a game. Otherwise, there's no fun in doing it. And I think there's just easy ways to recast any element of like, oh shoot, that was not a good thing that person just did. We could all be really angry at that. As all right, now it's part of the game. Now we'll incorporate it into some way to make it part of something that makes us love them even more. And love each other.
I don't know if it was your intention, but to me, the magic of doing that made it so comfortable to play within the rehearsal.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people bring in, especially younger actors or less experienced actors, or sometimes really experienced actors who haven't done it for a while, bring their insecurities, and they don't want to be embarrassed and they're afraid to make a bold choice. But when you're in an environment where you're so comfortable with everybody, because you are connected with them on this social level, I think, looking back, like what's like the Lost Boys, the fun and camaraderie that they had, and everybody, the pirates too, and everybody, like within their groups.
And we had Lost Boys of all different ages, and
a
couple of them were played by girls, So we had different different ages and genders who were brought together, and they were playing, they were doing like these things that you were instigating and encouraging, and it felt like it just brought, when it was time to get to work and you guys were in rehearsal and working, that element of play came into the workspace. But that's exactly what we needed. It's what we had to have with the Lost Boys. They had to be a mischievous bunch. They had to be. I love the fact that you guys were trying to do things behind my back. I love that. I absolutely love that. But it always felt like when it was time to get to work, you guys came in and you worked and you got the stuff done.
Yeah. That's the thing that I was the oldest of all of us Lost Boys in that clan, and that's the thing that I don't know. I've probably learned that like 3 years ago. 3 years ago is when we did this. I probably learned that ability like 5 years ago. Just because it's like, I don't know, it's a different part of my brain to be able to know how to stop things and switch over to a different zone. I think that people don't always recognize the power that you have as a principal character in a show to set the tone. Like the director sets the tone this much, and then like the principal characters have like this social capital that really sets the tone of a show, of a culture. And it's early decisions get to make well played out problems or joys,
And that's a great responsibility, and I'm glad that you actually mentioned that, because they are the leader of the. They're kind of the leader of the story. It's kind of their story, And so and socially, you have a lot of other actors who are looking up to you, and yes, they're looking up to you to be brilliant, and that's a lot of responsibility. They're looking up to you to be on when it's time to be on, and with the role of Peter Pan, when you can just come in and not only deliver on the material that you're supposed to be delivering, you also can come in and challenge everyone around you. That this story is about play, and it's about imagination, and it's especially the way that we kind of chose to go with it, where we were creating everything out of the organic things that were around us, the material things that were around us. And organically moving them into places and creating scenes and different stuff. I felt like no matter how old you were in the production, you absorbed that sense of play. And that's what made the show work, ultimately.
Absolutely.
Well, and I know that that's just kind of how you operate as a person, Joel. You see somebody sitting in a corner at a party, you're going to be the guy who goes and talks to them, because I just feel like, that's just who you are. You're you're an observant person, and you're a caring person, and I've always appreciated that about you. You can be a jerk sometimes too. Let's not, beat your head
entirely capable.
But I just, like, for me, watching, might have had a kid in the show, and she doesn't always get herself as involved, kind of keeps herself, and you were like, come on, let's go, she just seemed to blossom so comfortably. And I remember many eons ago playing Eliza in My Fair Lady, and I had been in all these rehearsals with like the old people, because I was, and then I finally got to go into rehearsal for Wouldn't It Be Loverly, my first time with the ensemble, and I just felt like they had been rehearsing for weeks together, and they were all buddies and friends, and I was just kind of like sitting on the couch like, oh my gosh, I'm so like nervous. And then this one girl just came down and sat next to me. She goes, hi, we're cousins, because she's like distantly related to Steve, and she's like, she noticed that I was like just feeling a little out of place, simply because I just hadn't had the opportunity to meet even half of these people more than like the read through, you know?
Yeah.
And it made such a difference for me to be able to go into that rehearsal and then suddenly be a part of it and let my guard down a little bit, because I just had that safety net. And so,
right.
you know, I appreciated you doing that for like the whole cast. So, and it made a difference. It was such a pleasant working experience. Like the cast was just lovely to work with, and had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was fun.
It was fun. Yeah,
it was it was a lot of work too. It was a big show. All the cast members moving set pieces around. I don't think we've ever had techs on stage.
No.
Really, it was all cast members. So you guys were doing and there was everything, moving all this heavy furniture around. Then the flying rehearsals, which are we discussed on Little Mermaid. It's a lot. It's a lot of extra rehearsal.
Yeah.
But it was so fun.
Yeah.
And this one was a super cool show because we had a concept for Peter and Wendy's flight that we brought to Foy. Flying by Foy did the flying for this production. And we were like, can we make this happen? And while it didn't quite meet the Barbie set because the Barbie set was really high, it ended up being a really cool flying effect.
Yeah. That
we were able to do. So you and Gabby, our actress who played Wendy, had to do a lot of work with Foy because it was new to them too.
Yeah,
so
they actually created the apparatus for us to be able to use it.
Frozen. I think his connection's a little.
You there, Joel?
There he is.
Like he's so quiet.
Actually, Joel, I'm gonna go ahead and take you out for a second and see if we can get that fixed. And we'll come back. I promise. We'll come back to Joel in a second.
But coming back on that, you know, we wanted to create this moment with Wendy and Peter within one of the songs where they are basically running around the forest playing together, and we thought, how great would it be if during this number he could take her up into the air and fly around with her for a little bit. And so out of that was born that moment.
It was
really cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah. It was my favorite to work with because it was like we got to spin and everything was generated by us like running around at the beginning. So there was like ample, like tons of opportunity to really mess it up.
Yeah. You guys were on one point and then your points were separated. And so you guys were spinning around each other on that one point.
So that meant that if we weren't spinning or if I wasn't like pushing her away from me, we were like that.
Yeah.
Like just angling into each other. Right.
Yeah.
So the whole time
everything was
I was like doing somewhat of like a push up of whatever, like lifting Gabby.
And well, it wasn't, you weren't necessarily singing at that time, right? Because that was
sometimes like
they sang during Neverland. They sang while they were
and that one was stationary. That was just me like locking my arm to keep her out.
Yeah.
But we were still spinning, so I had to like pat her around me like this.
It's a workout and it's a lot of work to kind of get that down so that you know you're comfortable and what it needs to feel like to get a nice good flight pattern out. It's a lot of work and
there's some photos that I'm like, oh god, do I really look like that? And then there's some photos where I'm like, all right,
that looks like I'm flying.
We all have those photos that catch the in-between moments. It's okay. Well, Joel, stick around. I'm gonna bring the three of you guys back in a minute. We have our choreographers with us, and I'd love to chat with her for a minute. So, thanks, Peter Pan. We'll see you in a minute.
Hold. Now go.
Oh, okay. Because I seek at that. Yeah. So we're gonna bring in Dawn Campbell.
Yes.
She is the choreographer for the show, and if you guys remember watching Shrek. She's also Shrek's wife. She's the one who had the baby.
The real life
of the
Shrek.
And
she's not green and gray.
Hi Dawn, welcome. And Dawn's joining us from Kentucky, where she's visiting her family.
Yes.
Yes, I'm 3 hours ahead, so I'm trying to stay awake.
Oh no!
Well, thank you for doing that. We appreciate it.
And this one's going long because Steve's like Mr. Chatty Cathy over here. It's okay. It's good. It's been really interesting, actually. So, at least to me. So hopefully everybody else agrees. So how are you, Dawn? How's it going?
It's going well. I'm just surviving quarantine with a newborn, so that was fun.
Yeah. Yes, because you had your second baby, a daughter, in February, right?
End of January.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, so that was, I guess, I don't know, it kind of just felt like one really long maternity leave, for better or worse.
Because you never got to go back to school because you teach school.
Right. And I was really ready to go back to work, so I was super bummed
Yeah.
to be in the house again.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So I have to say, observing you guys, we are just so lucky. We've just really worked with incredible choreographers and vocal directors. We're very picky. Like we really try to find people we're gonna love working with, and I know that Steve's been wanting to work with you for a while. But you guys like share a brain. It's kind of scary. You guys really, and what I love the most about you is how humble you are around each other. I don't know if humble's the right word, but you guys.
There's no ego.
There's no ego between you, like, because Mr. Man can have an ego
I
here.
can at times.
For sure, and it's healthy to have an ego to a point. But it seems to me like, especially when he was working with you, it just like there was no, if you came in and there was something done and it wasn't really what he had in mind and he wanted to talk to you about it, it was always like, yeah, okay, yeah, and it was just like, so it just seemed like, I don't want to say easy, but you guys just seem, like I said, just seem to meld and really just kind of have the same vision.
Yeah, I feel like Dawn just gets storytelling, and I'm pretty good at doing things.
Oh, sorry guys. Technical difficulties.
I'm pretty good at putting together an interesting picture as a whole. I don't have that choreographer's. I have that choreographer's eye. I just don't know how to do it. And getting to work with someone like you who is gifted in that area, in not just in choreography, but in continuing the story with choreography. It's not just, hey, let's dance the dance. It's choreography that actually propels the story forward, and it doesn't stop the story from going on, or it doesn't like relax your mind for a little bit from the story just to watch dancing. And I feel like you really get that, and I really feel like you get what I want to see before I even have the chance to even tell you that I want to see it.
I know we had a couple of moments, several moments in rehearsal where we would kind of both like jump up like, oh, that needs something, but we'll fix it.
Yeah.
We kind of react at the same time at the light bulb. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why I don't really let ego get in the way, because it is about the story. Like, it's not about my idea, your idea, his idea. It's about what will support the story and the characters. And yeah, so I felt like I felt the same way. And when we worked together in Beauty and the Beast, when I was assisting Roman in that role, I kind of started to like feel that dialogue as well with you, that we kind of think in the same thing.
And there's nothing more important than a choreographer to understand where the director wants to go at all times, because I feel like putting scenes together and directing the action of the story, there's a lot of things that it's not as technical. Choreography is technical because there's things that have to be rehearsed for it to look clean, to look organized. Even if it's something that's supposed to be a chaotic moment, it has to be clean and it has to be safe. And you have to take into consideration the actors' bodies and everything like that, making sure that everything's going to be able to endure throughout the whole rehearsal process and the production process, the performance process. So choreography is something that's very technical. For you to wrap your head around that, and to also never let the storytelling dip because of that. Somewhat that has to be kind of, it's very right brain, but it's very left brain at the same time. And that's something that you have.
Well, it also speaks to, like every person has said tonight, it speaks to the nature of the cast. Like, we had such a collaborative, playful cast, and I love to choreograph in that environment where people bring ideas, whether or not they vocalize it, their bodies are bringing ideas to the space. And So it's the movement just kind of happens organically, and then I can like fine tune it as we go. But
well, and I think that's really well demonstrated with the natives, because when we approached the natives, as like I keep saying on the show, we just tried to take a different approach to things. We obviously didn't want to do anything disrespectful to our Native American culture, and it can, a lot of times the Indians in Peter Pan are very much pigeonholed in that way. Yeah. So we were like, we called them natives. We designed their costumes to be like a conglomeration of many different cultures, and the same with their dance styles. So you pulled in, you know, traditional African dance. You pulled in Indian, like Bollywood style. Yeah. There was like the music. There's some Aboriginal. It was really cool. Like I feel like you seamlessly put them all together, and it was like my favorite moment of the show every night, because the dance number was just so freaking cool. And the reason you saw Piper pop up, I have a little clip of the native dance that I want to just show really quick. So let's see that. Sorry about that, but yeah, that was just, and those girls, they were in it. They were fierce.
They were fierce.
Well, one thing that we just, we didn't want to do is we wanted them to be natives of the island of Neverland. So, what is that? So we decided to just kind of make them a conglomeration of a lot of different things, and I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, I love that about the whole story, was kind of creating a physical language for each little group, each tribe kind of had their own way of speaking physically to each other. It was so much fun.
Yeah, and with the Lost Boys, you did a lot of, it wasn't a lot of choreography, it was just a lot of really cool, like,
play.
Stunts and play, and like, you kind of let them, what can you do? Like, what would you do here? And they would just do some things, and like, you're like, okay, let's work with that. And then you would work it into the choreography, and each of them had like these really cool moments. They were lifting each other, and they were punching each other and throwing each other on the ground, and it was fun. It was
that's just such a cool way. I mean, now that I don't always think like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's really true. Every tribe had their own movement that helped tell their story, and that's I like get excited about that kind of stuff. It's really, I'm not that kind of on the creative team. That's not my job. Is generally to like from scratch create something. So it's just fun to be able to have a look into the process and whatnot. Well, Don, I sincerely very much hope that we get to work with you again, because it is such a pleasure, and I just love you and Taylor so much. You guys are awesome, and we just had a lot of fun working together.
Yeah.
I agree. I hope we get to work together soon.
I hope we get to theater at all soon, but
when
we do, we'll be calling you for sure. So thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and we'll let you go so you can get to those. I mean, hopefully they're sleeping, but you can get some sleep, because they'll probably wake you up early tomorrow. So
sure they will. It's good to see you guys.
You too. Well, when you get back in town, we'll have to, if it's okay, we'll have to have a picnic at a park 6 feet apart. All right.
Good.
Take care.
Thank you, Dawn.
Bye.
That was almost too much. All right. we're going a little late. We had some issues at the beginning, so we're gonna go on for a few more minutes. This has been really fun. I definitely do. I want to give a shout out to the whole rest of the cast. Everybody was fantastic. I'm not gonna name names because I can't name you all, but we had some really talented kids too, and it was a lot of fun. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to I have a couple. Hold on, I'm gonna get my pictures up here so I can get my shout outs and just a few things that I wanted to share really quick. So we had Andres Ramirez on during our Shrek live stream, and he built the
Nana puppet?
Yes, Nana. But he also he built Dragon and Shrek, and then he built Nana here for us. And Nana was operated by Kiara Isis, who also was in
Sophie
yes,
in Mamma Mia.
And he was super cute and a huge hit, and so much better than working with a real dog. Not that you would do that in Peter Pan, but I'm just saying.
It was fun to watch the dog move around the stage. It was just how it felt like. It felt like another. It felt like it was a real dog.
It was a cast member.
It was crazy.
And also just this gorgeous gown. Belinda really did a fantastic job bringing Steve's creations to life. Here we have the natives a little bit more. Their costumes are actually quite elaborate. Just their bodysuits, and they all have something different, and they have these crazy fun wigs, and they were super cool.
Yeah.
I think I made those. Well, she made like the belts and the collars and stuff, and I made the unitards.
Yeah, and I did all of the.
You did the collars.
All of the string, the things hanging off of them, which we wanted to have a lot of movement with them, and so when they spun around, they sort of kind of like took flight, and it was really kind of cool.
They were cool. And then, oh my gosh, the pirates. These are our 4 male pirates, and they were a bunch of goofballs, and they were so fun on stage. I can imagine they drove Captain Hook nuts, but they were so charming and cute. And then our pirate wenches. We had our 3 pirate wenches.
We knew it was going to be difficult to be able to find the amount of men, boys, that is required for a production of Peter Pan, so we made a choice to incorporate some pirate wenches, and they certainly wielded swords.
They didn't steal those scenes at all. No.
They weren't demure. They were just as nasty and gross and disgusting as the other pirates. So
they were a lot of fun, and again, 3 lovely.
And
talented.
One of them pranced around in her underwear the whole show.
So much, just gorgeous. These costumes this corset is like everything. And then we have our darling family. So this is Leo.
Michael?
The
actor?
Yeah, the actor.
Leo.
That's Leo.
Oh, who are you talking about? It's Blake.
Blake, thank you.
Blake is John. Leo is Michael, Blake is John.
There's Vanessa and Joel, and then Gabby was again, she was trying to join us, but she was having technical difficulties, and
we miss you, Wendy.
Yes, we love you, Gabby, and she was fantastic as Wendy.
And she was also cast in.
She was in our Beauty and the Beast that got it.
She was a silly girl.
Yeah. And then here's just another. I don't know. Why are we not loading? This is a great technical night, guys. Okay, well, there's half of the pirates.
Just go back because it was full before. There you go.
So it's
smaller, but there it is.
There's the pirates, and of course Andrew Driovich is Smee.
Smee.
All right. So let's go ahead and bring back. Let's start with Joel and Vanessa really quick because we have our Peter Pan and our Tinkerbell.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys had a lot of fun together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it was nice to just help each other and grow and learn.
You go ahead, Vanessa.
I just want to say thank you for playing Ninja, because that was an icebreaker for me. So yeah.
Everyone was so excited to learn everything they could from you. Like, you did such a good job naturally, like breaking that ice on yourself, on your own. So like you've got much more of a what's the right word? A magnetic personality than you think you do. You know, everyone was coming straight to you to ask you questions and know things from you. I just had to like feel them and make sure one came at a time.
And I think that creating Tinkerbell in the way that you guys did, it did inspire the cast, and they all came to us and said, "Can we sign at the end of the show? Can we sign one of the verses of the final song?" And we were like, "Oh, that was like the cast's idea to do that," and we were like, "That is very cool." So it kind of brought it full circle and whatnot. So I just wanted you guys to be able to say hi.
Yeah.
Because we're running super overtime, but I wanted you to say hey and have a little Tinkerbell and Peter Pan reunion here.
I'm so happy to see you, Vanessa.
Oh, sorry?
Oh, she's gonna make you say it again.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, she can hear. I said I'm so happy to see you.
I'm sorry, my mic is acting weird right now.
That's
Can you repeat that
okay.
again?
That's okay. I'm happy to see you.
Oh, happy to see you again. Sorry. I heard that you got engaged.
Yeah.
Like, congratulations.
That's her.
Oh, what's we got here?
There she is. I'll put it back up later.
I don't know, Joe. That's a bit fishy.
Oh.
That
Just a bit
foul.
Okay, well, thank you, Vanessa. It was awesome to see you. I can't wait till we have another opportunity. And you take care of yourself, okay? I just gotta take her top first. There you go. How's that?
Bye.
Bye.
Love you.
All right, awesome. And then I just want to bring good old Captain Hook. I keep saying that because that's the song.
That's the
But
song.
I kind of
my old nemesis.
I kind of specifically want you guys to talk a little bit about the fight sequences. There were a lot, and some of them were long and involved, and they were cool. Like Tim, the way you would work that coat while you were fighting, it's like you knew you had this coat on. So you and Sean Critchfield, who's an amazing local actor and also very excellent fight choreographer, and BFFs. He came in to work the fight scenes, and they were work. There were some of our longest, hardest rehearsals were the fight scenes, because there's the element of safety, there's the element of they have to look right, and I think there's a clip in the initial clips that I showed where Tim is doing like this cool roundhouse thing with two swords, and then his like coat flares out just right. It was very like the fights to me ended up being very cinematic.
Yeah.
So you guys had to work.
Yeah, the clip was my hook and which was right-handed. That was my best part. I love you, Steve, for that. He walked in with, like, in the book, he's got the hook on his right hand, and I was like, then I learned how to sword fight left-handed, and it was so cool. It was such a good challenge. I loved it. And Critchfield wanted to make sure that hook was a threat constantly. And I mean, even in one of the fights, there's that scene where you like flew over me and I hooked your leg and dragged you back down to the ground.
One time it actually happened too.
I know.
Well, theater is not for the faint of heart.
No. That was
the biggest part of those fights was like integrating the flight in the various ways. Like so part of the fights couldn't happen until we got to the ranch. In the rehearsal area.
The flight crew had to be such an intrinsic part of the fight.
Exactly.
Because there were moments that I was swinging right at you, and you had to be able to fly right out of the reach of my sword.
Yeah,
and
it was very much a dance between actor and crew.
Oh yeah,
I don't think a lot of people realize how technical things like that are. And you had a real hook. I mean, it was a
it was awesome.
Metal hook. It wasn't a plastic thing. Yep.
That was far.
I was like, what is Joel showing us?
He's showing us that he's wearing pants.
Oh, that's your fans only page thing.
Yeah.
Dude,
well,
it was a blast.
I know that as an audience member, because I got to watch the show like almost every night. I really appreciated all of the work all of you guys put into the fight scenes, because at the end there's this huge fight scene where all the pirates and all the Lost Boys and you two are fighting, and like there's literally like 7 different mini fights, and then like one is highlighted and one is highlighted, and it was really, I thought it was really well done.
Sean did such a good job at making sure that the audience had a focal point during every. It wasn't just like everybody do your sequence. It was done in such a way that that you knew exactly where you were supposed to look at each time, because one moment led to the next, to the next, to the next, and it was like a roadmap that just showed you exactly where to go up to that pinnacle moment. It was Sean. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
He's probably not watching, but
that was like a symphony. It really it really was crazy and awesome. And we had to do it to the music. Because we had the music. That was crazy.
And there was a lot of music.
There was a lot of music.
It was a lot. I was like, this is the longest fight sequence I've ever heard in my life.
It's a lot, but it was cool.
I was so tired after the show because all of that leather and the wig and the hat.
Yeah,
it was
you
a lot.
You were sweating. You were head to toe leather. You had a long wig. You had that big old heavy hat. You had your hands. Also, you're like at one point you're like, this is not smelling great. Is there anything you can do? I was like, oh sweetie, yes of course. Yes, here, let me show you what to do. We don't want a stinky hook. Yeah. So you know what? I think that's something that I don't know if audiences always really understand and appreciate, like how much work. I know you, Joel, were also equally exhausted at the end of the show because you were.
Well, I don't think the audience should know that.
True.
I think that they need to see us effortlessly telling a story, and that's just something that we have to do as actors. It's very uncomfortable to be on stage, especially in an outdoor amphitheater.
Yeah.
And especially at the ranch where there's bugs flying all around you, and some of us have eaten bugs at the ranch, and you can't drop out of character just because you're uncomfortable and something weird happens. You've got to be in the moment at every single possible moment so that the audience believes the story that you're telling them.
Yeah, there's that supernatural energy that you're getting from the audience. You're getting everything from each other.
Yeah,
that it makes it does. You feel afterward how hard it is that you've been working, but in the moment, it's just really difficult to notice.
I've been on stage at times where I have been very, very ill. Because a lot of times we're sick, we have to go on anyway, and I've always known that when I've felt like that and I just didn't feel like doing the show that night, I had to do the show that night. So you go out and you do it, and when you're in that moment and you're in somebody else's skin, there's something mental that takes over, and it's that mind over matter, and you just tell that story from that other person's point of view. And what their perspective would be at that time, and what they're feeling, and all of a sudden you don't feel any of that anymore. Until after the show, you collapse and you're exhausted and you're like, whoa. But you're right. It's all about being in the moment and being able to hide your discomfort from the audience.
I want to take a moment to tell you that you gave me so much as Pan to the looks you give me were infuriating. And the way that we would interact was brilliant. It really was cool, and it gave me a lot to feed off of on stage. Thank you for that. Tim
has taught me self-defense at various times, so many different things. Tim and I have learned, just with him as my teacher when I was at Rainbow Company, and
that's right. You guys worked together in Rainbow Company.
Right. Well, and so we built together longer ago than that. He led the exercise where you close your eyes and you run forward and he catches you. But I was a tiny stick at the time, right? 10-year-old Joel, 11-year-old. But anyway, so he's been an educator and a friend and a helper in tough times for me in the past. Yeah. So it was so different to layer on that space of okay, now you're my enemy.
Yeah.
But it came so naturally. I know. All that energy that you're saying that I was giving you was so much reaction to what you were presenting of this menacing, terrifying person.
Well, and I think that comes from
sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think that comes from a trust and a respect for each other in the craft, because you know you can when you have that respect and admiration and trust in somebody on stage, you're able to put your guard down and be somebody else, and not take your personal relationship into account, and then there's a lot of fun things that you can create when you're able to do that as an actor.
Oh yeah, the cast, the crew, like the direction, the producing group, and everything. All of you guys, and especially in those moments between Joel and I work with Andrew and stuff, and my pirate crew. Like everybody created such an environment that I was able to just lose myself in the show, and it was a blessing to like just my particular approach and techniques that they just kept feeding it. It was lovely, and I also thought that the size difference between the two of us was outstanding.
Which is another thing that was important to me. Which it was just great that it ended up happening that way.
Yeah.
But I was also just going to say, you know, how great it is that, you know, we deal with a lot in our daily lives, just, you know, to put bread on the table and to make sure that the people that we're responsible for are taken care of. There's a lot of stress and a lot of things that happen in our lives. It's so nice to be able to have something like this. And in these times, it really makes you appreciate what you had, and be able to just, you know, say, I'm going to put this on hold for just a second. I got to go to rehearsal, and I'm going to go fight a pirate. You know, it's just it's
an escape.
It's an escape, and it's needed, and
it's
we
part of
need
the
it
reason
back.
why we do it.
Yeah,
because it's
for all of us involved, whether it is, you know, on the technical side, creative side,
not want to, no, just kidding.
Or on the acting performer level. So
I got to spend the whole summer in a dream role.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the way he's written in this play, in this version, was even better, and it was a dream for me. I rushed out there every day.
Yeah, I do remember you being at the theater pretty early, but sometimes it's nice to go and just chill and get, you know, be in your moment and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were both really fun to work with, and what you guys delivered was fantastic, and it's fun. It's always nice for us to hear that people had a good experience and enjoyed it, because again, it's a huge sacrifice, it's a huge commitment, it's a lot of work. You might get a scar from Captain Hook's hook, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, that makes it worth our while, because that's what we want everybody involved, from the actors to the techs to the costumer to the set builder to the usher to the people who hired us to the sound designer, to the audience, to have a wonderful experience. And so we really try to make that happen. So it's always gratifying to hear that, and we always also feel very blessed to work with such dedicated and talented actors such as yourselves. So thank you, and thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's good to see your faces again.
It's wonderful.
Especially you, Tim. It's been a while since I've seen you.
Been a minute, so.
I know. I was like, because I got to do the fight stuff for Beauty and the Beast. And then,
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And Joel was gonna. We won't go there. Never mind. We're just giving Joel a hard time. But yeah, you guys, again, thank you. It was just lovely to reminisce about what was like. It's just a really good. I mean, all of our shows are good memories, but this one just, I don't know, it had a little extra pizzazz.
It was magic.
It was magic.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, thanks, you guys. You take care, and we'll talk to you soon, we hope. Wait, all right, I'm going to try this again. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Good night.
Good night. Bye. We'll milk this so that you have to really...
Yes.
All right, he's gone. Bye, Tim. All right, guys. And I forgot last show to tell you that this was our next show, so I'm remembering this time.
Ooh, what's next? Next
is our 2016 production of Beauty and the Beast. The one that actually got to happen. So right now it is scheduled for Sunday, June 28th. We're having a little bit of some scheduling questions, so it may change, but I'll put it on Facebook, and you can always watch it in the replay. Hello, everybody watching the replay. And before we go, as kind of usual, I do have a little it's kind of a long one because I didn't make this one, a clip of Beauty and the Beast, just to kind of get you ready for next week's show. So as of now, it's scheduled for Sunday, and if that changes, it will be right on our Huntsman Entertainment page. So, and you can also always go to HuntsEnt.com. Everything is listed there, and this one will be listed there too. So here we go.
Cool.
With a little Beauty and the Beast. Well, okay.
Whew.
That was epic.
I just get tired every time I see these things.
You know what? That's another fun show with a lot of great stories. So
all right.
We'll see you hopefully on Sunday. If not, I'll let you know when. Take care.
Bye, guys.
See you next time.